Hi, I'm Marissa Buckley, and we're live on the set at Live at ITC. Thanks to our special sponsor, Monitaur. Thank you. And funny enough, I'm here with the co-founder, Anthony Habayeb from Monitaur. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. So before we dive into AI and all of that, give a quick background. What is Monitaur?
So Monitaur is the leading provider of AI governance to the insurance industry. Started the company in 2019. Didn't necessarily think we were going to be focused on insurance, but lo and behold, this is probably the perfect industry for a company that wants to really enable trust in AI, which is what we want to do. It's maybe the perfect industry for us to be living every day, helping carriers, helping insurtechs, helping regulators really figure out like how to more trust, right? Better confidence, transparency, all of these things we talk about. How do you actually do it? That's what we do.
I was going to say, you help them not get in trouble, right? To avoid getting in trouble.
That feels like a dangerous thing to suggest we do.
Fees are fine.
Yeah.
Staying compliant, but that is a great, much needed specialization and should be a core focus because it's ever evolving and regulations change, but having somebody dedicated would be extremely beneficial.
You know what though, actually, as you're just talking about the regulation, most of our customers, the reason that they're working with us is actually the excitement about the business opportunity. AI is new for all these companies. And how do you successfully build or buy AI? And so in a lot of ways, the motivation for great governance is I do want to transform. I want to use AI. I want to use agentic AI, all of these things, but I don't know how. And the right kind of governance can actually very much be a roadmap or an enabler of doing all of those things. So I think that's been exciting for me to see is we're almost a change agent, helping through governance, which isn't the sexiest sort of word ever.
Or like maybe the big apprehension of, how do we do this? You're actually giving them the confidence to be able to do it. That makes sense.
So true.
That's why they're excited about the way that it changes their business versus staying compliant.
Yeah, and it's table stakes. You have to be compliant, right? But, oh wait, I can be compliant and improve my ratios or improve my efficiency of claims. Like now we're talking, right? That's where it gets exciting.
So regulation and AI, they're colliding fast. What would you say is you're the expert here, what's the biggest shift, regulatory shift that's happening right now?
Yeah, so all the way back in 2020 was when we first started to engage with the NAIC. Before there was an H committee, as they were just figuring out big data, and a lot of their AI focus was really actually started more around disparate impact and fairness of some big data and models. Fast forward to today, those are still the primary concerns. The job of US regulators, or sort of insurance regulators in particular, insurance is really complicated. So they're trying to protect consumers. Like as a consumer, until I started doing what I do now, I had no idea how complicated insurance was. I buy a policy to cover my car, my home. Something happens, I just expect to get a payment and everything works. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And so the regulators, I think, are primarily still trying to protect consumers. And they're trying to make sure that if we're going to use some new technology that impacts consumers, how do we make sure that that stuff is legal, right? And in the consumer's best interest. We should all want that. Like everybody should want someone looking out for us. And I think the balance that the regulators are trying to solve is how do they protect you and me and also enable innovation that they also are excited about and believe in. And that's a hard problem. But I think generally, the US in particular is trying to navigate a course where companies can use this technology. And there are existing laws that can generally make sure we're being fair and equitable and legal and those kinds of things. But
you said insurance is complex, and earlier on in my career getting into the industry, I was taught about we never know the cost of goods sold. So companies have to manage trying to figure out the cost of goods sold, especially with AI, and staying compliant throughout that process. So that's a tough thing to balance. because you want to know so that you can be profitable and you can manage growth and all those things really well, but it's never really truly know.
You know what I love about that is it actually aligns with a thing that we've been talking to a lot of our clients about, which is almost viewing governance as a cost of your transformation or as a cost of the product. So if I'm going to build some AI application that enables straight through processing or automation of claims, right? Or a better targeting of an ideal sort of customer cohort, let's say, right? If I believe that that project can deliver, let's say, $50 million of benefit to my company, that project should have a line item that's my cost of governance. Like, what am I investing to enable the responsible success of this system? And so that cost of goods sold, cost of product built, right?
It gets you closer to understanding it, right? Because it's a line item,
Yeah, like we shouldn't be building or buying AI that we are so excited about without having a commensurate sort of safety net, if you will, of good governance on that product.
Yeah, on all things.
Yeah.
And I think carriers love that because they want to, if they have something dedicated to that, there's more trust involved in the entire fulfillment of insurance.
That's right.
Right?
Well, in insurance is, in most carriers, those lines and those departments it's a pretty federated model. The claims team runs their group, right? Home might run theirs, auto would run theirs, life would run theirs. This idea of like centralized governance, as much as insurance is a risk-full industry and risk-obsessed industry, a lot of these companies don't really have a heavy or hugely robust centralized risk management group or operational risk group. And so it's so important that you can actually take something like AI governance and let it really live in the business. So that when the claims department wants to do something, they know what the company expects, but they can move a little bit faster within their business unit.
Right. It's less of a concern and less of something that they even need to think about. That's awesome. That does accelerate development and growth for the company overall anyway, because you've got that figured as a central part of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's inspiring. So you talked about earlier on talking with the NAIC, and that just, whenever I'm talking with companies, I think about the really unique insight that you have that nobody else has. And so you can really see what regulators are thinking about when it comes to AI. So what would you say, what are they thinking about, and how do you see that landscape changing in the next 12 to 24 months?
I think there are people way smarter than me in terms of regulation and compliance strategy. And I'd say we have a passive, seat where we get to watch, sometimes we get to help. But I think, generally from the view that we have, I go back to what I said earlier, that like the primary objective is still protect consumers and make sure that the people providing insurance, the companies, are able to deliver on their promise when that time comes, right? And that's always the motivation. And they're trying to figure out how to sort of take those missions and apply them into this technology. I think that we're now at a place in US and Europe in particular, where the regulatory authorities have generally communicated their expectations. If you're going to use AI, you conform with laws and you're doing things in a responsible, transparent, safe, fair way. That's the last 24 months. Right now, in the next 24 months, are very much, how do they operationalize those expectations? So when you go through a financial exam, you're going to start to get questions about your AI. The regulators are trying to forecast, what will we ask you? So you can be ready for that conversation, right? What are they expecting is the sort of package of proof that you would have that gives them confidence? Yes, you have your hands around AI. You are thoughtful about your buying or building AI. You are not creating unnecessary exposures for consumers or for your solvency so that you can ultimately deliver on your promise of insurance in a time that a consumer needs it.
That is so important because the fact that you're going to have you do have specialized insight into governance of all different types of solutions, and having you as a partner with a company means that when they are working with regulators, that's going to bring a lot of credibility and trust, and hopefully make that process a lot easier because the regulators know you. They're going to know what you're doing and that you're dedicated and focused on it.
Well, they won't ever endorse, right? Like their role is not to endorse, but, but I think it's important to listen, right? There's a lot of stakeholders that care about the quality and the accuracy of AI. You and I care as consumers. The businesses, the carriers, they care because they're trying to deliver to their stakeholders, their employees, their investors, their customers. Like, this idea of AI governance is really a community problem in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people who care about it. And I think for us to be the leading provider in this industry, we have to live in the middle of all these stakeholders. We have to listen and or poke at regulators. We need to listen and or poke to carriers. We're here at ITC. We need to listen and poke at the technologists to sort of try and find some common ground where this technology we're all excited about can have the impact we all want. Because the worst thing that would happen is some terrible harm or sort of catastrophic type ecosystem impact from AI. Like imagine that an AI system is the cause of some huge catastrophic financial event. Nobody wants that. That would set us back quite a bit. So that's where I think really trying to understand all of the various concerns and deliver a solution that can ultimately deliver confidence and trust. Like you said, regulators are a piece of that, and we have to stay close to them. Totally.
Yeah, and talk to them. So I was with a home insurance company in Florida, and so there was a big wave of insight and encouragement of insurance carriers working with regulators. Like talk to them, work with them, and figure this out together. That happened probably around 5 years ago. Couldn't be even more important today because it's now not just about disaster prone areas. It's about new technology that everybody's trying to figure out and understand. That ever evolving. So cool. Awesome company, Anthony. Truly amazing. It's so needed in the industry. Glad that you decided in innovation, what am I going to do? And you chose governance, not everybody.
It took my parents a while. Then GPT showed up and they were like, oh, I get what you're doing. Yeah, exactly. I think my daughter one time was like, oh, so you make sure Alexa's being honest? I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, fine. That and a million other more important things, okay?
Yeah.
So cool. So last question. Insurers are building their own models and buying technology from vendors that now claim to have AI. How should leaders think about managing that third-party AI risk?
There's some data out there that forecasts 90%, 85, 90% of all vendors will have AI embedded in their solution by the end of next year. So, if you're a carrier, your biggest AI risk is actually not the things you're building. It's how do I handle all of these people showing up and saying, I have AI? In some ways, if you're the vendor, careful what you wish for. As excited as you are to say I use AI, if you do, you're now going to be introduced to new questions. Sometimes that will expose you're actually just a wrapper on top of GPT. You actually haven't even built an entire business. You don't have good governance. You don't have good controls. So, we could have a whole conversation just about this, but I think generally the most important thing, if I'm a carrier thinking about AI governance, in one of my acute pains is all of these vendors showing up to say they have AI. Two things. First, don't treat your vendors differently than your internal AI development. As a company, you have a policy. You decide what high, medium, and low risk is, and when a vendor shows up and they have AI, is their AI presenting a high, medium, or low risk, just like you would internally, and then cause the vendor to demonstrate their governance the same way you would your internal team. So this is what we do with our customers, is whether I buy it or I build it, I'm applying the same governance program across that full ecosystem of AI we have in the companies, right? And it's hard, right? But it really is the right way. I think the reason third-party risk is so hard for a lot of carriers, AI is showing up, and most carriers haven't even built an overall third-party risk management program yet, right? So there's cyber risk, there's legal risk, there's all of these different elements of risk that the carrier is trying to figure out, how do I ask Anthony's startup about all these things? And now wait, I need to also ask about AI? How do I do that? So I think it feels overwhelming, and I can completely empathize with, I'm literally just trying to figure out how to do all my other third-party risk. Now AI is everywhere. What do I do for this too? And And I just say sort of step back, build your overall AI governance program, establish a clear corporate policy, establish alignment on how you risk assess AI, and then apply the same program to your vendors. Our customers do that. So it's not just me saying this, I'm seeing it work, right?
Invaluable advice. And by doing it that way, you are establishing integrity in the governance itself,
Totally.
right? That you're not treating, I would imagine, lose a lot of trust in that, oh, our governance is different because they're a third party.
That's right.
Right? And in treating it like your own makes it like the standards don't change, right? And we're measuring things the same.
You just made a huge, that standards don't change. Earlier you talked about like regulations are moving. It does feel hard to establish a governance program when you feel like whether the federal government posture changes or state government posture changes, what am I building towards? And that's why it's so important. Like you do build your own, like you're a corporation, you have your opinions of fairness, equity, right, transparency. Apply those ethos into your governance policy, and you can build a program that scales into a hugely variable regulatory environment. Fundamental best practices, that's what most regulations are looking for. So do that, right? And then we can deal with the 15 or 10% edge cases as they happen.
Awesome. Awesome interview. Great company. Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Privileged to interview you. And thank you, everyone, for being here at Live at ITC for this session. And keep a lookout for Monitaur, amazing company doing great things for this industry that, frankly, I believe all companies need. So thank you.
Thanks.